2 minutes while I grab my champagne, my prosecco. Hello, how are we all doing? Don't worry, we won't stay on Doctor Who for very long, or else I will get copyright struck. Just sorting out the lighting, and we are... Hello! And we're on. We're, how is everyone? I can't believe Kissinger hated my thesis so much that that he just died. Which is truly amazing when you think about it. Yeah, this isn't your children's Doctor Who. This is Who Doctor? John. Dr. Duncan does sounds very middle-aged though, doesn't it, Dr. Duncan? Sounds very like a countryside GP more than anything else. It doesn't sound particularly cool, but my name is not particularly cool, so I will be resigned to that. Alright, before we open the champagne, before we get the prosecco going, which will be going, I'm going to change up the music to something a bit less imposing, because, you know, Doctor Who, we can talk about Doctor Who later on, because I really enjoyed that episode. It's not got the most relaxing theme tune, has it? So we'll get something a bit more relaxed going first. Well, yeah, it is alliterative a bit. Yeah, Dr. Duncan, like a really bad Marvel character, like the sort of Marvel character whose like superhero's power is, I don't know, fact checking. I forgot to move all my pedals before the stream, so I'm gonna have to do this now, or else I will be reaching over. I quite like this red background as well. We've not done red before, you know. Normally it's different. Anyway, that's by the by. Another issue is that the guitar was next to the window, so now it's out of tune. There we go. That's quite nice, isn't it? All right, let me catch up on the chat before we. Cheers, FT. Thank you for. Thank you. I mean, thank you for everything. Thank you for the super chat, and thanks for coming along. And I appreciate you and everything. Yes, it was quite a nice groove, eh? We've got all the best folk here. We've got FD, we've got Harker, and also people who don't have YouTube channels. They're also cool. My microphone was too loud. Let's crack open the prosecco. So for anyone who didn't see the post, Sainsbury's, taste the difference. Down from £11. £11.50 actually, I think. Down to 8. So we're treating ourselves. You know, we're treating ourselves. We've reached an important point in, I guess, life. So I'm treating myself to more than as someone pointed out, normally £6 is my limit, £7 maybe. So, you know, I'm starting to get worse. As anyone who gets a PhD inevitably may get worse. It's just a fact of nature. It's your sort of gateway to becoming just progressively a worse person. So let's pop off the champagne to celebrate getting worse. Not champagne, prosecco. I should maybe have done this over a sink. Let's hope it doesn't spill. It didn't spill. Ho ho. We are off to the fucking races. Oh, I didn't read the label like I normally do. I'll pour it and then I'll read the label. I'll see if I can taste any notes. Because of course this is why you're all here, is my impeccable wine reviews. So we'll be doing that. We'll make sure to do that as well. Let me read what notes I'm supposed to pick up first. So, taste the difference. Conegliano. This prosecco is it's delicate and fresh with ripe apricot and zesty lemon. It's always zest. What do I say every time? It's always zest. They're obsessed with zest. Our winemaker's obsessed with zest. What is that? What's that all about? So we've got some zest. I'll see if we can detect the zest. I never can. Our delicious taste of difference. All right, let's hold your horses there. I'll be the judge of that. It's sourced from only dog. What? Oh, sourced from only DOCG. I don't know what that means. Quality vineyards in the prized Conegliano area of northeast Italy, and makes it fantastic aperitif served with olives and antipasti. Oh, that's nice. We're serving it with fuck all. Okay, so you know, it's got zest and apricots. We'll see if we can taste the zest and apricots. Cheers to getting worse. Oh, it's nice. That's quite nice. I don't know if it's zesty, but it's tasty. So I will oblige Sainsbury's in their consistent robbing of me that their taste of difference prosecco is nice. It's quite sweet. Don't know if that's good for prosecco. As the sort of sommelier around here, I guess I should know. But you know, we all just like what we like, and I quite like the sweetness. Tinfoil, I'm sure that many proseccos are better than champagnes. I have not had enough champagne in my life to judge. I quite like champagne. It's always quite liked when we were kids. Maybe not kids, because that might be when we were younger. My mum used to put like champagne and orange juice together, which is always quite nice. It's like having a wee juice, a lovely prosecco juice, which is it's just a mixer. How long till the? I'm gonna pop out this chat because it is annoying. How long until the Nick Land shift? Oh, I think we can get worse than Nick Land. We're going to start by getting just unbearably smug, right? That's the first stage, unbearably smug. Then I'm going to start opining. And I've already got a YouTube channel. I can start opining on things I don't know about easily. So we're going to do some opining about shit we don't know about. As soon as I get, I mean, it's going to be gradual because I still need a job. I need a permanent job. So, you know, I've still got that sort of position of being, you know, just vaguely on the margins of academia still. So I can't get too bad too quickly. As soon as I get a permanent job, we are going downhill. We are getting so much worse. I'm gonna Zizek that shit. Just make up quotes. Who's gonna tell? For any employers watching, I will not do this. I will be a consistently good employee. This is all jokes. I am conscientious. Read my student reviews. This is all jokes for the internet. It's not real. So that's a culmination of 4 fucking years. I started doing this YouTubing. Will I be looking for academic jobs or heading out into the real world? I will be looking for academic jobs. I had a job interview on the day after my Viva. A PhD allows me to be wrong with authority, exactly. I had a job interview yesterday for just a very insecure teaching assistant job, which I would still be over the moon to get. I would like to, I would like to stay in academia, basically because I'd like to be a teacher. I think I've talked about this before on stream. I'm going to be very burpy on this stream because this has lots of bubbles in it. John has never even unionised. Fun fact: one of my examiners is the rep for the union in in a university. There was a funny moment where in the Viva, which is like, what happens with a Viva? You go into the room. I didn't have any. I didn't have much. I didn't know what to expect in my Viva because neither me nor my supervisor knew the examiners. They were recommended by a third party, so I didn't know what was going on, what to expect going in. But I heard before going in that one of them was the union rep for their university. I was like, oh, that's good. That's a good fight. So we went in, we did the thing, asked the questions. It was nice. Then at one point, it ended with like a discussion of what I wanted the research to be, because in my conclusion to the PhD, to the thesis, I spent a lot of time, it was noted I spent a lot of time talking about the value of the PhD in terms of activism, in terms of what actually contributes to the movement, and not, as is, I guess, traditionally supposed to be the case, what the contribution to knowledge is, how it relates to different literatures in the field. And I was asked about this, and I was like, yeah, I mean, I don't want to have written 100,000 words that's just about whether or not people find this 100,000 words legitimate academically. I want it to have a value beyond that to actual people, to actual movements. And I was asked, like, oh, do you seem to care? You seem to care a lot more about that. And I was like, yeah. So I was saying, like, a lot of these thoughts were crystallized during the UCU last union strikes, not the last ones, but the ones before. When there was a lot of people who were like Labour, did their expertise in labour relations, did their expertise in in like capitalism and exploitation, and then scabbed, and then walked across the picket line, and they both laughed, and then then one of them said, "It's a good thing that neither of us were scabs, because you could have got yourself into a lot of trouble there if you just accidentally just insulted your PhD examiners." And I was like, oh yeah, oh fuck, I didn't even consider that. My big old mouth almost got me in trouble again. We just got away with it, thankfully. Yeah, so it's a good thing that that neither of them were scabs and both of them were unionized and in conjunction with the union. I had looked up their social medias beforehand, so I knew that they were on board with the next thing I said, which was also that I'd seen lots of academics who'd made their careers and their lives from decolonization say absolutely fucking nothing about Palestine, and I knew I was on safe ground there because I'd seen both of them publicly talk about that, so I was like, I can say that's fine. Yeah, I almost fucked myself there. Keen on teaching the lecture theatre wasn't enough, so you do YouTube as well. I mean, that's literally why I started the YouTube channel, was to practice teaching. There's no other. The two reasons I started doing this were to practice my writing and research that I'd been out of the. I started this just before I started the PhD. They're the same age, and the reason I did it was to practice academic writing, to practice research, and to practice teaching. So, literally, yeah. That's what I did it for. They were very based examiners. They were both of them very on board politically and theoretically with the work, which is very a big relief. Because part of it could, like, what I was worried about was having to get into like a theoretical debate to defend my theoretical perspectives with the examiners, because that'd be really difficult to do on the spot, and these are experts in their field. But that was almost like completely absent. The vast majority of the discussion was about methodologies and placement of chapters and all that stuff, which is like, was challenging in some respects, of course, but like it wasn't. I didn't have to worry about them being like, we think your theory is wrong. So that was a relief. Yeah, I was reading some of their works beforehand, and one of them had written this really good work on social reproduction and value theory as part of social reproduction, and I was like, oh fuck, if I've made a mistake in this theorizing, then this person really, like, it's like an intimidatingly good paper, and I was like, fuck, if my stuff is not up to scratch, then he will be able to tell. But he seemed to like it, which was good. And my supervisor, bless him, I didn't realise I was supposed to like go back and so what they do, you go into this room, and there's your two examiners, and there's as a chair who's there to basically say, administer it, and to say if things get too heated, he's to step in. He's just there to make sure it's all fair. And what they do is the first thing they did was they asked me to do 3 minutes presentation on my thesis, a really brief one, and I was like, oh shit, I've prepared a 5 to 10 minute presentation, so we are skipping some things. Did I get to choose? I'll ask that in a sec. Yeah, so they got me to that, and I was like, oh shit, I better skip. I had like jokes prepared and everything, because why wouldn't I? But I skipped through a lot of stuff and did that very briefly, and then they just went through chapter, asking questions, justifying things, and all that, until they got to the end and asked me to leave for about 5 to 10 minutes, which I mainly spent. I didn't realise that I was supposed to go back and like say hi to Damien, my supervisor. So I just went to the toilet because I drank a massive coffee with a bunch of whiskey in it just before going in. You know, I'm very professional. Yeah, not the jokes. The jokes were good. I'd spend more time thinking of jokes than I did the actual fucking PhD in that bit. Yeah, so I ended up I had to rush off to the toilet because I drank some whiskey and coffee, and then was just sitting around, and they were quite quick. And then I went back in, and they said, "Oh, it's very good." Passed. It was extremely nice, and passed it without corrections, which I was not prepared for, because a lot of time, especially with things like neoliberalism, stuff on neoliberalism, people have opinions on. It's a very broad topic, lots of research on it, so you don't expect to pass without corrections, because people, like I said, people would have different theoretical opinions, and try to lots of examiners try to force that on the student, and they didn't, which was very, very good and very lucky for me. And then went back to my supervisor after that, and he was like, "Oh my god, you've been gone so long." I'm so worried, because he was expected me about like 20 minutes earlier. Is no corrections common? There's no way I'm going to say this without sounding immensely smug. No corrections is very uncommon. It's like 5% of PhDs get no corrections, and then like 80% or 85% get pass with corrections, and then like 5% fail, or something like that. It's not normal. And my supervisor was very surprised. Yeah, he jumped up. He was like, "All right, dude, that's so good," and then just gave me a big old hug, which was nice. Did the supervisor get to be the first person to call me doctor? No. I think that was both the examiners. We're smelling a lot of whiskey. Wouldn't want to get him into a fight. Exactly. I mean, my initial plan was to get like really jacked or hire a bouncer and just do the viva being really jacked and or with like a big bald bouncer standing behind me nodding along with every point I made. But you know, failing that, just a wee whiff of whiskey probably helps. Just to call all of you to come and be teachers in my senior secondary school system, John and FD in particular, but all of you come on. Yeah, let everyone, we're all moving to Harker's secondary school, and we're all going to be teachers. And then we're going to make a sitcom about it, and it's going to be called, oh god, I need a pun with teaching and communism. Top Marks. It's going to be called Top Marks, and we're all going to be communist teachers in Harker School. See, that's the quality. That's that kind of high quality joke that I had to drop from my presentation. That sort of fucking nugget of gold that I had to drift over. how that's the real tragedy of the situation. Do we get to choose our examiners? So my supervisor picking process was quite difficult, because so you're sort of like, it's supposed to be the supervisor who does it, but my supervisor, his work is not hugely overlapping with mine outside of the human rights area. Like he's not embroiled in like political economy or sociology and of neoliberalism types of academics. So he didn't know all that many people, so I had to take the forefront. But we went through like a lot of people couldn't do it, a lot of people didn't reply. In the end, it was we'd emailed a guy, Ian Bruff, who and we'd emailed him, and he suggested this list, and the two examiners were on this list, and they were just very good picks. So we have to thank Ian Bruff for that. Ian Bruff sent an email a few weeks later after sending that, being like, "Oh wait, hold on a second, is this the John Duncan who does YouTube? I was like, my supervisor sent me that email and was like, Ian Brough is just, this is a new one for me, just being asked if you're the John Duncan. I was like, yeah, okay, that's interesting. Yeah, that's basically how that worked. And then we went out for lunch and I had some beers, and then I had a bunch of whiskey, went home and had a bunch of whiskey, and then made some espresso martinis, which were quite nice. Made them with grenadine syrups. They kind of taste like coffee liqueur chocolates, which is quite good. Yeah, we watched, actually what we did that night, we'd been watching rewatching Andor. I mean, we got a bit drunk and then watched the final episode of Andor, which is, every time it's just so fucking good. God, that show's fucking good. I reckon you're allowed to be a bit smug for a wee while. Yeah, maybe, but then there's a risk. There's a risk of letting that get into your head. That's how they get you. That's how the academics end up like how they are, is letting that little bit of smug get into their head and stay there. You never let that smug stay there. My dad replied in typical dad fashion when I told him, which was to say, you're a jammy bastard. I was like, no correction, like, you smug jammy bastard. And then he sent me a text just earlier today being like, great achievement, I always said the runt of the litter would grow up to be top. I was like, what, stop calling me the runt of the litter. That's so weird. He always used to say that when I was little. He's like, oh, don't worry, John, the runt of the litter always grows up to be the biggest. And I was just like, am I the runt? Am I a runt? Why are we a litter? What are you talking about? And of course, lest we forget, the other reason why we have prosecco is because a monster has been defeated, and who are we to not celebrate the demise of a monster? Henry Kissinger's dead, and I know that he lived a life of luxury and he died of comfortable old age. That doesn't mean that we can't have a bit of fun about it. We can't enjoy digging a hole down to hell itself and handing him to a reluctant devil who clearly didn't want anything to do with him. Too toxic for the devil's brand. Yeah, what a prestigious time. We can all celebrate a world in which there is no longer a Henry Kissinger. What a life we have. On that, let's change up the track. The question is, how did everyone find out the good news? I was drifting off to sleep, and just glanced at my phone and saw people be like, oh yeah, the big man's gone. He's like, that scum's dead. I was like, oh, what's this? What's going on? And then finally, I took about 5 minutes of scrolling and was like, oh, Kissinger's dead. I was like, oh, well, I guess I'm not going to sleep anytime soon. And then as Lemmy Lemmy's not on Twitter anymore. Lemmy has committed to no longer being on Twitter, so he might have threaded about it, but I've not seen that. There's a lot of people, you know, the format of the tweets I've heard on his deathbed. Henry Kissinger converted to Islam and recited the Shahada, blah 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 blah. That Twitter format, it's very strange to see that around everywhere, because that was made popular by just a friend of mine, just a friend who tweeted that when the Queen died, and it went viral, and I had like people sending me that tweet. I was like, have you seen this? Like, oh, that's Nas. Right? People are sending me Nas's tweets, and now it's become this whole thing. This anytime someone terrible dies, the reciting of the Shahada, and the commitment to the converting to Islam. It's all just from my friend Nas. So I'm surprised I didn't find out that way. Was it Hussein? No, Hussein did a version of it, but it didn't go viral in the same way. It was Nas. Nas did this viral version and sort of changed it a bit for his own good, his own means when the Queen died, and that went viral. So Hussein can claim some lineage to it, but in the end, the real pushing the boulder down the hill was Nas, which is very, very funny and just very odd. It's constantly people being repeating this joke that he made. He got so many death threats from that, I think. Anyway, yeah, let's change up the tunes. Oh, my friend Austin sent me just the worst and the best horny coffee pasta that I've ever seen. For it, really great. Kissinger's Lament, that's right. Oh yeah, who again? Who do you? There's two questions, I guess, for the death count. It's who do you want, and then compared with who do you think's likely. So I guess who we'd want. God, imagine if Tony Blair pegged it. Oh God, what a day! What a day! That'd be so nice. What are the effects there? The effects are there is a distortion. I'll go through it again. So we've got a JTC. We've got a JTC loop pedal which has a drum track built into it, and we've got a mono synth for the synthesizers, hardwire delay and reverb pedal as well, a distortion DS1 stomp box, an ultra octave for the bass, and a governor stomp box as well. Was it Ron Perlman who said that he hopes that the Alive cock gets reunited with his brothers? And I think it was Ron Perlman who did that. Yeah. Building a board. I should get a board. Mine are just strewn across the floor in a way that is not very neat, I guess. Tony Blair would be good. John Howard. There, I'm not familiar with John Howard. I assume It's not literary award. Hey, Matri Archetype. Thanks for joining us. We've got another person in the chat. Another person that everyone should follow as well. Matri Archetype is another good account. We did lose Shane McGowan as well. Yeah, that is a shame. Poor Shane McGowan. He outlasted Kissinger, and for that we are eternally, he's the lad for it. Yeah. Given that Kissinger caked it on the day carked out. I've not heard that one before. On the day I finished translation on the Collins Eye project, I'm working. Take credit. Yeah, that's a good one for credit. Yeah, that sounds bad. That sounds like a not great character there. I have to say though, this prosecco is going down nice. It is quite pleasant. Good decision. Sainsbury's, pay me money to advertise your products. I do enough of it. To be fair, I do say that half of them are grim. My supervisor was talking about how sometimes he watches this and he says he can see the visible grimace on my face to some of the wine that I have been consuming on here. There's no grimace this time. This is just quite nice. Getting your doctorate and going straight into advertising is more common than you'd think. That's not an uncommon thing people do. Love all these articles being shoved down my throat about the complicated legacy of Kissinger. Yeah, I guess it was complicated in the sense that there's a lot of stuff that he did. He did a lot of bad stuff, and it's hard to keep it all straight. Like, how much bad stuff has he done? You need books written about it. There are books written about it because there's just so many people he's responsible for killing. So I guess in the end it becomes quite complicated just remembering how much terrible shit, how many people, millions of people, he's responsible for murdering. Real terrible guy. Real terrible guy. I'm not the biggest fan of Jacobin, but I did think it was incredibly good, incredibly funny to be like, yeah, we don't have an article about this. We do have a book though, and I thought that was good posting. I will give it to them on that regard, on Jacobin. And then the day I was giving it to them for that, that's one of their contributors speaking shite on my timeline as well. Tell you what though, what's nicer? Another nice thing though, less death oriented. The new Doctor Who was good. What a rare thing! What an amazing situation that we've got a Doctor Who that is good. After all these years, an episode of Doctor Who which is good. It was amazing. It was like being, I won't say it was like being a kid again. It was like being an adult again when Doctor Who was good still. I have become obsessed with the meep. It is now in my head constantly, and I will die for the meep. Which, if anyone hasn't seen the episode of Doctor Who, is going to be a confusing sentence. The real problem isn't that Kissinger was an evil man who did evil things. The problem is that the evil system allowed man like Kissinger to do those things. Yes, I saw there was a very funny post today of someone being like, someone saying, all these progressives celebrating the death of Kissinger because he was a terrible man who did terrible things, and he was a terrible man who did terrible things. But they love Lyndon B. Johnson, who also did terrible things. That's like, wow. I guess we'll just have to admit that the entirety of the US infrastructure is predicated on the blood-fueled imperial expansion of American interests. Oh no. And who loves Lyndon B. Johnson? I've never come across anyone on the left who's like, I hate the American system of blood-fueled imperialism, but you know who's a good egg is Lyndon B. Johnson. Lyndon B. Johnson. I have a poster of Lyndon B. Johnson in my cupboard. I just occasionally give a wee kiss on the cheek to Lyndon B. Johnson, my favourite US president, Lyndon B. Johnson, a guy who I remember exists frequently. Lyndon B. Johnson. And I certainly wouldn't say that Lyndon B. Johnson was also a monster for murdering hundreds of thousands of people. Nor would I say that it's indicative of the state of American imperialism. Because I just love Lyndon B. Johnson. As a progressive, I love Lyndon B. Johnson. And the more I say it, it sounds like one of those joke names, like, what does Lyndon be doing? Oh, Lyndon B. Johnson. Lyndon B. murdering people. Yeah. Is the new Doctor trans, or is the Doctor always trans? I genuinely know nothing about it. The Doctor, and it makes sense. It was a bit mixed up, I will say that, and God, there were some clunky lines. Like near the end, there were some very, very clunky lines, which everyone I was watching it with just went oof. But clunky lines aside, and mixed up, kind of. Despite being, in the climate of BBC, being supportive of trans people is just a victory, I think. But still appealing to a kind of biological essentialism, saying things like, "Oh, if you were a woman, you'd understand. If you were still a woman doctor, you'd understand." It's like, okay, right, yeah, let's not do that. But obviously, the Doctor is a character who can change gender. Gender is not something that would necessarily mean much to them, and they're always trans and anything else, I'd say. Oh yeah, my conference in Italy. Yeah, we could talk about that as well. I forgot about that. Yeah, I've not spoken to you in a while. It's been about a month since I've last done a stream. My last stream got copyright claimed, and my advertising revenue for that stream is still being held in escrow because someone claimed that I stole their music, and I was like, I did not. This is a stream where I make the music. There was no stealing of the music, and I checked the song, which was I claimed I was stealing, and it was not. It was not the same. It was very different, and yet all my advertising revenue is still being held back, which is annoying. Not keen on that. But yeah, so we can. I'll talk. Remind me. I'll talk about Italy in a minute, and we'll still talk about Doctor Who for a bit. The universe is somewhere between celebrating Kissinger died and celebrating the fact that Doctor Who is back. Doctor Who is back, not just in the sense that there is more Doctor Who, but Doctor Who is fucking back. It is cheesy and clunky and fun and entertaining and just fuck me, David Tennant knows how to play the Doctor well. And him and Catherine Tate, just immensely great chemistry. And also on a more subtle level, I think it's interesting that David Tennant isn't just like playing it as if he is the 10th Doctor again. Like, there is different. It is like a clearly different character, which is interesting. True Lyndon Johnson stand, sit next to my copy of Capital and my Shea poster. Yeah. I'm always like, you know, I advocate for revolution, unless Lyndon B. Johnson holds public office, in which case we're like, yeah, Lyndon's good. Lyndon's got a pass. It is true that Kissinger was, not just in the things he did, but on a personal level, just a truly monstrous individual. There's that story of him, like, I think it was Defense Secretary maybe under Nixon, was maybe under LBJ, was trying to grapple with what he did in Vietnam, trying to make amends to some degree, and Kissinger was asked about this, and Kissinger mocked the guy, pretended he was crying, and it's just like, yeah, this person's pathetic for trying to come to terms with the fact that he murdered millions of people. Really, truly a bad person in every sense. And just, like, you know, you can be a monster, but you don't have to be a dick. And you know, Kissinger was both. Honestly, confidently trans-positive Donna was a huge win for me, having grown up in that series. Donna was so good. Donna saying that she would, like, beat the shit out of anyone who disrespected Rose is just like, yeah, I absolutely fucking believe that Donna would do that. Yeah. My favourite US president was the one that wasn't a war criminal. Still waiting for her to exist. Yeah, I mean, it's the trick, isn't it? If you want a US president who isn't a war criminal, you're just gonna have to dismantle the US. You can't really have a president who is not a war criminal. In my opinion, Jodie was good. She was just handed limp as fuck scripts. I think I felt sorry for Jodie Whittaker, because I've seen she's a good actress. I think she was directed badly as well. I don't think she was able to do anything with what was given to her. The entire era was just badly written. Fundamentally just bad. It was awful politically. It was terrible story-wise. And for some reason, I guess probably misogyny, the Doctor was just written badly. Not good. Alistair Darling died as well. Alistair Darling, one of the architects of austerity, although he was succeeded in a more violent form by the Tory party. Alistair Darling himself already had austerity plans. He is himself a terrible person who's not quite in the same league as Kissinger. Kissinger's death toll is millions. Alistair Campbell's is probably just in the thousands, but still a terrible person. And you're not going to hear me being sad about that. And another day, if Campbell had died without Kissinger having died, you would have, I think, a lot more people raking over that period of New Labour history. I still can't decide if I dislike the Chibnall era or Matt Smith era more, though. I think the Chibnall era is worse. I especially don't like the first few series of Matt Smith, when Matt Smith's wearing that awful blazer bow tie combo, awful stuff. But I will accept that there are still far more competent episodes of the Matt Smith era than there ever were of the Jodie Whittaker one. Jodie Whittaker, that episode Kaboom, where the bad guy is the guy who's trying to just like blow up Amazon, is maybe the worst episode of Doctor Who I've ever seen. Real low points throughout. Lyndon B. Johnson is such an American name. It's like Americans took names and they just fucked with them. I've got a friend called Clayton. What's that? First time I heard that name, like Clay. Oh, this is my friend Clay. I was like, Clay? What do you mean Clay? Clay. This is Clay. It's like, is that a nickname? Clay? Like mud? Like clay? And like, yeah, Clay. I was like, what? What are you talking about? These aren't names. Lyndon, like the tree that blossoms and smells like cum. That's your name, Lyndon. It's not a real name. Jackson Hinkle. What kind of name is that? Not a real name. Americans, sort out your names. Chad. What kind of name is that? There was like Cassius Clay, but it was Clayton. Yeah, it was short for Clayton. But Clayton isn't a real name either. Like, oh, Clayton. It's like Clay. Yeah, what's that? That's not a thing. Like a ton of clay. I love Clayton. He's a very good friend. We're gonna call him Cumtree B. Johnson now. You know, I might. Cumtree B. Johnson. Cumtree B. Johnson. I mean, if your second name is Johnson and your first name is the name of a tree which famously blossoms and smells like cum, how can you not end up being called Cumtree B. Johnson? Cumtree B. Johnson. I'm gonna keep saying that until I never forget it. Cumtree B. Johnson. Just for context, this is Dr. John saying Cumtree B. Johnson. Just in case anyone was worried that the standards here were gonna slip, we are still I'm gonna say the word Cumtree B. Johnson probably another 50 times on this stream. Thank you for that gift. Thank you for that gift that I can now share with more people. J.E. Jesus Christ. I hate that awful people get to have names like Alistair Darling or Lord Sugar. That's a drag king name. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right that both of those names are drag king names. And it is a travesty that they were confined to fucking Alistair Darling, that fucking Captain Scarlet looking motherfucker, and Lord Sugar, just a racist walnut. Yeah, good. They would have been good drag king names. That makes me so mad. Thank God we've got Cumtree B. Johnson. My Soundtown on Spotify. Hey, yes, and how's it going? We're just talking about Cumtree B. Johnson. And we're going to say Cumtree B. Johnson 100 more times. Bryce is saying, my Soundtown on Spotify is Edinburgh because Scottish indie artists like Hannah Hawke and Brooke Comey. Mine was as well. Because of Young Fathers, my friend Capil, and some trad folk. But most of my SoundCloud, Spotify stuff is soundtrack stuff because I use it for working. Oh yeah, and I guess thank you for saying well done on the PhD, Sinan. But we have moved on to talk about Cumtree B. Johnson now, and that is the more important thing at work. The wine today, Sinan, is a surprisingly nice prosecco, which is giving me heartburn already, because now I'm getting old. I get heartburn when I drink. as an indication for how Italy went, that just reminded me of Italy. Your sound time was Bath. What are you listening to in Bath? I assume people in Bath listen to like the murder, like the Midsummer Murders soundtrack or something. That's what people in Bath listen to. Not, and do you just listen to the Midsummer Murders soundtrack? I don't mean to put you on blast, but sorry, that was I got taken over by an anger for Bath that I've never felt before. Thoughts on the lack of journalistic solidarity from Western media of the Gaza press? I think it's a disgrace, and I think it's a reflection of the inherent racism which is spread throughout the entirety of the Western media ecosystem. Not just racism towards Palestinians and support for Israelis, but the broader Islamophobia that has been bred and is continued to be bred through that occupation. And which I despise in every part of my body. We did a quick turnaround there. I was talking about cum and attacking someone for listening to things from Bath in a weird way, but we got the answer there. I'm not getting old, I'm getting worse. That's right. I'm just getting worse. I'm looking forward to getting worse though. It makes life less stressful. I should have got like a wee bucket with ice for this. It's just gonna get warm. We'll cope. What are my favourite soundtracks to listen to? There's less like full soundtracks. You know, I listen to a lot of Zelda music. I like Zelda music. That gets played a lot. There's one track which is the track in Paddington 2 for when his auntie comes to visit. That kind of makes me cry. That gets played a lot, so I'm often like there's just tears while I'm writing because I'm listening to the Paddington 2 soundtrack. Just an insight, just a peek behind the kimono, a peek behind the curtain into what the production world of John the Duncan is like. Is sometimes I am typing while slightly crying because the Paddington soundtrack is too moving. Sorry if that removes any of the mystique of the process. People in Bath often like Gorillas in the. I like Gorillas in the Archives, and I don't live in Bath. Maybe I judged Bath too harshly. I've never been to Bath. It sounds Tory in my head. It's like, oh, there's Bath. They have fancy baths there. Another one which makes me cry is the movie is an odd movie. It's not great. I kind of like it in its own being its own way with its bizarre use of dressing up actors in Asian makeup, which was astounding for coming out in 2012. But the soundtrack to the movie Cloud Atlas is another one which just instantly makes me cry. And I listen to it a lot, but that one will have me in tears. Bath is Lib Dem Tory, that explains the Gorillas. That explains the Gorillas. I lost my train of thought. Cloud Atlas. Yeah, the Cloud Atlas soundtrack makes me weep a little bit. Cloud Atlas is awesome. I would say that the use of prosthetics to make everyone Asian in the third, predominantly in like one of the areas, probably stops me from describing it as awesome. I feel like it's much too conflicted as as a product, as a piece of art with too much yellow face for me to describe it as awesome. It is an odd movie as well. I still kind of enjoy it. I liked the movie a lot. I liked the book a lot. Sorry, the book was very cheesy but very fun. I enjoyed the book quite a lot. And the movie was. I will say that the only people who could have ever done it was probably the Wachowskis, and they did as best they could with it. Bunch of yellow face notwithstanding. What's Harker? I remind misusing your age as the litter. Sorry, what was that? What were you saying, Harker? Not even old. No, I'm not old, but I as I've been getting older, I've noticed that I drink a bit of wine, drink a bit of anything, and I just start getting terrible heartburn. It's really annoying. I do have some European Gaviscon in my cupboard that I will take as soon as this stream is over. The Wachowskis aren't good when it comes to race. I mean, they did. Yeah, no, I mean, again, I would just cite the yellow face. Full thoughts on the recent Doctor Who episode. I mean, like I'd say, I don't know if you might have come in slightly later. I just enjoyed it a lot. I thought that there was clunky lines, bits of clunky bits and pieces here and there, especially the stuff with like some of the trans stuff was a bit clunky, but it was still just utterly great to see in the current climate of the BBC see complete support for trans people, just love and support for them, and I thought that was great. And the episode itself was just fucking fun. It was just great fun. The Meep was fucking brilliant. I loved the Meep so much. Miriam Margolyes playing that character inspired exactly what we needed. It felt like Doctor Who was back. Yeah, so let me actually. When I was 20, I could do 11 shots a night, and at 26, I was like, have 4 drinks and you'll wish for death tomorrow. Yeah. Dead philosophers say, tonight me and my friends are having a Kissinger's Dead party. What a coincidence, because that's what we're doing right now. We're having a joint Kissinger's Dead and the Doctor is in party. Let's change up the tracks, then I will talk about Italy. Which I didn't realise I'd not talked about, but that was quite fun. It was quite a rare fun conference. And as ever, if I don't catch your question, tag me or whatever. I'm already getting quite drunk. Prosecco will do that. Sorry, we've gone out of tune again. Wasn't expecting that kind of vibe, but It's nice. It's kind of relaxed. The key to drinking past your 20s is to accept the pain as an inherent part of the experience. I'm very much of the opinion, and agreeing with Tom Usher on this, that a hangover can be good. It can be part of the fun, and kind of you're all in this together kind of situation, and you sit there and you stew, and like it's a particular kind of, I'm not saying all hangovers are good, because some of them are clearly not, but there's something fun in a bit of a hangover sometimes. I will agree with Tom Usher on that. Thank you, Matri Archetype. Alright, so what someone asked about Italy. So, a few weeks ago, the reason I wasn't streaming 2 weeks ago is because I was away in a conference in Italy, on a human rights conference, and I was not all hangovers, exactly. I was not expecting to enjoy myself, but what happened was my supervisor put together a crew of people who are just there for having a laugh, almost literally, like this character Doug, who's there, who's like a high up in a university. He was literally, but Damien only invited him along because he's a good laugh. And we met at the airport on the way. That would, I mean, I couldn't be cast as a doctor because my vibe is already so specifically 2005 era Doctor Who that it would feel like a step backwards. Cumtree Johnson. Yes, Cumtree B. Johnson, I think you'll find. Hello, Kian, how's it going? We were just talking about Cumtree B. Johnson. I'm sure you know what we mean. That sounded threatening. So basically the conference was a lot of fun, punctuated by having to go to a conference, where the group that my supervisor put together just ended up drinking a lot of wine, and then we went to the conference, and we got labelled by one of the speakers as like the fun table, because he'd given his plenary speech and he came out, and we were stood next to, not coincidentally, the wine table, and we were sat there because I chose the seats, and everyone else in the room was very proper. They were all very refined Italians, very refined, like having their espressos. And we were just sitting there betting each other on how much wine we could fit into our water bottles to steal before our individual panels. And one of the speakers came over and was like, lovely, nice to meet you. You look like the only people here who are not incredibly boring. And we were like, good, come join us. And that was basically the vibe. At some point, someone called me a controversial voice, because, well, in my conference, in my like panel talk, and during the which was good. It was a good like discussion afterwards we had with the other speakers, and our convener, our chair asked me like, I said I don't really care that much about saving, about whether or not something is good for the human rights system. And the chair asked, do you think it's important to save the human rights system? And I said I don't care. I don't really care because I don't care about whether or not about saving the human rights system. Who gives a fuck about saving the human rights system unless the human rights system is useful? And like the whole room kind of went, and I was like, what? Didn't realize that was a controversial thing to say. I was like, all right. And then people were like, oh yeah, John, yeah, the cynical voice in the room with John, and I was like, all right, I guess this is the role I'm playing. The cynical voice in the room. Just don't really give a fuck about the human rights system unless it's useful. But it was a lot of fun. We ended up going on a tour of Padua University, which was good. Padua University is the second oldest university in the world, after Bologna, and Bologna was the oldest one, and hello, thank you, Matthew. Bologna University was set up by the church and by the aristocracy, and Padua was set up by students who didn't want to be under the yoke of the church. Very old university. I saw Galileo's spine. That was interesting. He has just the spine on display there. We saw the first ever what's the word? Autopsy, sort of a chamber, I guess. What's the word? When surgeons cut up bodies because they're wee freaks, who like cutting up bodies for science. We saw that. What else? We saw Galileo's lectern, which was quite interesting. Bologna was the place that the first woman to graduate from a university graduated from, which was fun little stuff, fun little things to see. I almost didn't get let into the conference on the second day. I guess they thought I didn't look like I was meant to be there. I ditched the group and ran off to the toilet. And then I was going in on my own, and the security guards were like, I just walked in, the security guards were like, hey, stop, scusi. I was like, whoa. And they're like, you can't go there. I was like, I can. They're like, no, it's a conference. I was like, no, right. And then I got in my pass, and they're like, okay, fine, you can go. I was like, wow. I didn't realise I looked so scruffy that they almost didn't let me in, which was quite funny. Anatomical theatre, that's the word, you've got it. Half my brain is come Tree B. Johnson at this point, that I can't think of anything else. It's like every time I try to think, what's that word? The only thing I hear is come Tree B. Johnson. I think this might actually be the end of me, it's just the words. It's like piss maths all over again. Except worse, come Tree B. Johnson is definitely niggling away in there, because Johnson's also in there. It's just so good. Hello, Liz. Sorry, you have arrived in amidst what is probably a breakdown. University of Bologna. Yep. I think that joke is a common one. We also went to this. My supervisor was obsessed with taking us to a place that did this minty coffee. He was like, "Oh, we'll take you to the cafe. It does minty coffee." I was like, "Okay, why?" It's like, "Oh, you'll either love it or you hate it." It's like, "All right, sure, yeah, let's go." We went to this cafe and we got some minty coffee, and it was too sweet. It wasn't horrible. It was fine. Minty coffee. And then afterwards, after the conference, I ended up going to Florence as well, which was very nice. God, the food was so good. The food was so good, and the wine was so cheap. It was like so cheap. Food and wine was so cheap and so good. It made me want to move to Italy, speaking no Italian. My supervisor actually takes you for leisurely exchanges like coffee. My supervisor, yes. Yeah, my supervisor is very good. Takes us for drinks. Takes us for coffee. We had a lot of it. Yeah, there was a conference. Minty coffee sounds like it's trying to set up some kind of wordplay, like it's the front half of an anagram or something. It does, doesn't it? Yeah, but the food was great. I had this bruschetta that was amazing. Just bruschetta. It was just bread with tomatoes and olive oil. I was like, how have they done this to be so good? And it cost like €4, maybe less. Whole like meals that were like, our Italian wine's incredibly light, fruity, and sweet. Well, Nathan, you've come to the right place. The sommelier is in, and I can say that. Yes. Italian wines are light, fruity, and sweet. I agree. I definitely noticed that. Light, fruity, and sweet. Thank you, Harker. If I ever went on dating profiles again, I would put that. Oh, the pizzas were good, and like, I've not had a pizza since coming back because I didn't want to ruin it. But it was the pasta, not even the pasta, the gnocchi. The gnocchi that I had like 4 different gnocchis. Oh, delicious. I had this one that was like, excuse me, this truffle oil gnocchi that was like, it was truffle oil and gorgonzola gnocchi, which was like €6 for a full plate. And it was absolutely, it was so rich, so rich, but somehow managed to eat the whole thing myself despite how rich it was, just because it was delicious. And for contrast, it cost me less money to go to Italy for a 3-day conference, for 3 days for a conference, than it did to go to Manchester. So I managed to have I was on a roll. Much cheaper than going to Manchester than getting to fucking Padua. Are there any wines hinted with country? I wonder if there is any linden tree wine. Let me. I'm just gonna do a wee Google, see if there's any linden tree wine. Let's see if we've got any cum wine. There's definitely cum wine, but that's a different thing. Sorry, this is just going to be the stream for a few minutes while I search linden tree wine. There are linden tree wines. Yep, there's linden tree wines. Wines that are infused with linden tree. So yeah, you get cum wine. You get cum wine. So, yeah, again, I am a legitimate academic, but I will confirm that we have cum wine. This is where we're at. Going back to the North American cuisine after pre-Brexit UK takeout culture has ruined me forever. I mean, even post-Brexit takeout culture is still pretty good. You get nice takeouts here. for the standard of pizza, I find that Naples and Rome are way cheaper for a night out than Cardiff. I mean, like for €8 to get like a pizza, like that would be that's what we were getting, and I know that southern Italy is much more of the pizza place than northern Italy, which is why I ended up having more of the pasta and the gnocchi than the pizza. Yeah, it was all so cheap. It was great. Am I aware of Andy Wiltford at the University of Cheshire, who presented an academic paper at a conference on topics very relevant to the channel? Creativity, AI, neoliberalism, and more. He used the word hegemony. I've not come across him. I will look him up. See if he's check out his work. Yes, I've done a brief market analysis, and I have determined that cum wine is real and exists. And I hope this is the kind of knowledge that I produce on this channel, is that cum wine exists. There's a Spectre Haunting Creativity, Andy Wilford, and it's available to look up on Academia if anyone wants to read. That sounds interesting. Linden Blossom makes a good relaxing herbal tea. I bet it does. You can infuse it with honey too. I bet you can. It's very nice. I bet. Sorry, there's absolutely no way that I'm not going to see the word Linden and just think cum, or Linden, or Cumden B. Johnson. I'm ruined now. And that's how it's going. Two large margarita pizzas and 2 large balls of Nastro Azzurro at De Michel in Naples ran €14. Oh, I had like a full 3-course meal, 4-course meal actually, with wine. For 2 people, and it came to €42. So 26, no, less than that, £22 each, €22 each for 4 courses. Unbelievable. Oh yeah, the Doctor Who, Chris Chibnall era, Chosen One stuff. Terrible. Awful stuff. Don't like it at all. Thank you, Grace. I appreciate it. Alright, I'm gonna change up the tracks. We're gonna change up the vibes. Everyone prepare questions, things to be discussed, and then we will discuss them. That's you all know the drill. I can't remember if there's anything else I was meaning to talk about today. We've talked about Doctor Who, Kissinger dying, and the PhD, so it's a fucking free-for-all from now on. I ever collaborated with Neil? I have not. If they asked me, I would be honoured. Their last video, Leftist Cook's last video, I read a quote from. They are annoyingly good at making video essays. Great stuff from them on that. Discussion is food, a superfood or a drink. It's clearly a food. There's no discussion. It's a food. I will not have. I simply will not countenance any other view on this. It's a food. Would I consider it worthwhile to get more? Would I consider it more worthwhile to get practice at being able to defend your positions on the spot? I feel like as leftists we can get caught off guard, so we're quite insular at the time. I think it's probably less important with being able to defend your positions. I think that what is important is understanding why you hold a position, and that makes you better at defending them just out of just de facto. I think we need to generally get better, and this is not pointed at anyone or any particular group. It's just a fact of organising as well. It's difficult to talk to people who are outside of the movement, and it's hard to get people on board. I think we need to be generally, and this is not anything new. Generally get better at engaging with people who are outside of the movement and get them on board. But there's no easy shortcuts to that, and it's not debate stuff, because that's very different. And you're never going to debate someone into a position that you want them to hold. If someone is approaching you with that kind of energy, they're not going to be convinced. If someone's asking you questions, that's a very different thing. And if you're trying to convince them, then you're not wanting to go in on them as if they are, as if they're enemies. Depends on who they are. So this is all very context dependent stuff. I wouldn't ever say it's difficult to talk to people. I mean, you ever worked if you've ever worked a street stall, talking to people can be hard. Getting people interested in the shit you're doing. People are busy. Getting them engaged is difficult. There are particular tactics which are very context dependent, and what you can and can't do. And I don't think there's any general rule for what you can actually do to engage people or to talk with people. Defending your positions is something, because I think there's few occasions I can think of where it's all that valuable to spend time fighting with someone about your positions to actually defend them. The most important thing is defending to yourself, or engaging with yourself on why it's worth why you hold the opinions you have. Maybe the oppositional person could, but there's not all that many situations where there's many onlookers, and it's maybe, but it's not a situation I'd consider to be that widespread enough to merit a particular tactic of overcoming. Yeah, I mean, convincing people, J.E. is right. Convincing people is a long-term process. Getting people interested in things like, my experience getting people interested in things like housing movements. The immediate thing is getting them. The way people get hooked there is with recognising that their interests are oppositional to landlords. So, getting someone on board, you're like, your landlord's a bastard. Like, my landlord is a bastard. Like, do you want to come and talk to us about that? Like, yeah, actually, because my landlord is a bastard. And then they talk to you about it. And then you can sort of slowly start a process of radicalising them, of being like, yeah, your landlord's a bastard. Why is your landlord a bastard? Like, oh, he must be a bad person. You're like, well, that's probably true. But also, there's a reason he's a bad person. And there's a reason why he's able to be a bad person. And that's because of this this relationship between you and your landlord where he has all the money. And the reason he's able to have that is because a wider system of encouraging people to turn housing into assets, to financialize housing markets. And then the reason that's happened is because of this wider system of commodification that is inherent to capitalism. And then the reason that's happening is because of capitalism. So that's a radicalization process which starts with something small, which is the immediate material condition that the person identifies with, and ends up with explaining to them why that material condition exists. And it's not something that you can get to in one conversation, but it's a long-standing process. I guess that answers your question. I don't know. I think the best way to get people on board is to meet them where they're at and really listen to them and show them that they already mostly agree with me. I mean, there's an extent to which that can happen. Sometimes it's not possible. Sometimes it's you have to be able to accept that some people just won't be convinced or won't be convinced by you. And sometimes I've come across people on the street stalls who are just far right, people on the street stalls who are conspiracy theorists. They will never be convinced by anything that I have to say, and you've got to be able to cut your losses in that regard. Like, this person isn't going to be convinced by me, not much I can do in this situation. Maybe someone else can get through to them, someone in their family, someone they know better, but not me. Spefizzle asking, now that the PhD is done, what next? Academia, writing books as Dr. John the Duncan, become a nomadic musician, political philosopher. Well, the last option does sound good, but no, it will be trying to get into academia. I have a book. I'm going to turn the PhD, or at least I'm going to write a proposal to turn the PhD into a book. I have the form for University of London Press and a few other publishers that I will send away book proposals for probably in the new year. I probably won't have time to do it until the new year because I want to get another video out. Yeah, that's the plan. Get that out of the book, get a job, fucking survive. That's the plan. That's the plan. Wholeheartedly agree regarding Leftist Cook's recent video, caught the premiere and already want to rewatch soon to get more from it. Incredibly powerful, incisive and important stuff. Always is. Never do they release a video that's like, oh, this one's just a little, this one's not very good. Every time you release one, you're like, God, this is just ridiculously incisive and incredibly good. Tim Foyle saying, I radicalise myself by thinking about landlords. It's known to happen. Untitled Annika saying, I reckon a lot of the debate bro thing amounts to just socially acceptable excuse to give platform to reactionaries. Yeah, I mean, I think that's right. And it's a way to get money and attention and money from people who do that kind of content, because it's, for a period, was lucrative. I don't think it is anymore. I think that kind of style of content has declined in its reach, which is excellent. I am glad to see that. Getting people interested is the big hurdle. Yeah, I mean, that's why I think with most of my stuff has been with housing activism, a bit of union stuff with the UCU. That's one of the values of housing activism, though, because almost everyone has a terrible landlord story. You ask people like, oh, you ever had a bad landlord? And they go, oh, wait until you hear about this one. Everyone has one, or at least everyone of a certain class has one, and that's such an easy way to get people interested. A lot of people are already halfway there. They know something's fucked up. Yep. it's easier to convince someone who has life experience of how things are fucked up, but doesn't have the education to say from particular places, like they've not got the literature that they can reference to say that things are fucked up. It's much easier to convince them than it is to convince someone who's read a lot but hasn't experienced what it's like to live on the sharp end of these people. Turns out that, you know, class is still an important factor in radicalizing people, and these material relationships have important impacts on your social world. Who'd have thought it? What an odd notion. What an odd notion. Am I close to being able to live off YouTube? I do. I mean, part of why I can is because I have a comfortable and lucky living situation that allows me to live off YouTube. I guess I also have another job, so I live off YouTube, and I have a second job. I probably couldn't survive without the second job. But I'm close enough. I'll make about £12,000 between YouTube and my other job this year, which is not a lot, but it's it's enough to struggle away on. The existence of good landlords does more to prove that the landlords broadly are does no more to prove that landlords are broadly good than the existence of mutual aid workers who are assholes, because mutual aid is bad, actually. I've never, the only good landlord I have ever come across, and I think this is the only kind that there is a good kind of landlord, is one who is broadly non-existent until something goes wrong, and then as something goes wrong they sort it quickly, and that's it. But there's no relationship you can have with your landlord, which is good. You can't be friends with them because they want your money. They want you to pay their mortgage, to pay the cost of upholding a house. And I've had a lot of landlords, and I've never once had one which I could even remotely describe as being good. We currently have a corporate landlord, and I guess they stay out of the way. But good is not the word I'd use to describe them. Sorry if there's a rude question, but can you monetize your YouTube channel as a way to survive? Yeah, I do that. I already do that. Most of these videos are monetized. I didn't monetize the last one on Palestinian genocide because I didn't want to profit off of the genocide, because that would be fucked up. But almost all of the videos are monetized. A lot of them get demonetized very quickly. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't survive if I didn't do that. I couldn't continue to make this shit if I didn't do that. This is how I live. I have another job, but that job is coming to an end, so I am nervous about getting another job. Yeah, I need this to survive. Did it make it back to you that Hugo Pink put me on his good egg list? That was neat, kind of anti-drama. Well, that's nice. I have my subscriber count has increased a lot recently, and I did get a lot of people being like, mentioning that, not that thing, just being like, oh, Hugo Pink, you'd like that content and stuff recently. But I didn't know that anything had happened in regard to it, so that's nice. I was wondering why my subscriber count was going up when my view counts and that were not, and why and I hadn't seen anyone had tagged me in anything, so yeah, that's nice. I know that landlords are refused. I know one landlord that refused to charge more than What housing benefit is, I guess that is the closest thing to a good landlord I can think of. Doesn't fit. I mean, I would say that that's the closest, but even closer would be not charging rent, I guess. That's probably I would say not charging rent would probably be the closest that you could get to a good landlord. Yeah. Oh, did they mention it in the video? Oh, that's nice. Yeah, fair. To be fair, for a long time there was a lot of confusion about what my thesis and degree name were from me. I didn't have a title for the thesis until like the last year. I had a very clunky working title of it, and I could never remember it. But I technically I am a PhD in sociology. That is the field that the PhD is being awarded in. The title is Contesting Commodification, Subaltern Human Rights Challenges to Neoliberalism. That is the official title, and patrons can already read the PhD. I posted it this afternoon. Yeah, this afternoon I posted it. Moving on to postdoc research. I don't know. I don't know if I have any ideas for postdoc research. I don't know. I don't know if I have any firm ideas for what I'd want to do as a postdoc, and I'm not sure how many opportunities there are for the specific kind of research that I would like to do. And to be honest, I would be more happy doing more teaching than doing postdoc stuff. Is it bad I still haven't bothered to look up what subaltern means? It means it is the groups of oppressed classes, essentially. Which something is subaltern in its relation to hegemony. So a subaltern group is the group that is not dominant within hegemony, an oppressed class, basically. To put it briefly. Yeah. Leftist Cook had you on philosophy, I had you on poli-sci. The paper title is a mouthful, much academia. It is, yeah. It's got that classic academic thing of contesting commodification. That's the real thing. And then it's got a colon, and then it explains the rest. But there's it's the nature of like human rights research is that it never does fit into a particular like research paradigm. It's always very interdisciplinary. So like it could have easily been it wouldn't have made it into philosophy. That probably wouldn't have been the case, but it could have made it into a politics field PhD likely. But I don't want to end up in a political science department, because people in political science departments are almost always extremely right wing. I've been in political science departments before, and yeah, no thanks. So trying to make my way into sociology, who tend to have better departments. Harker, of course, anyone who has access to it, feel free to share it along. Doesn't matter. Does not matter to me. I will send it to anyone who wants it, and anyone can send it along to anyone who wants it. The whole point, like I said, is not to produce something for academia, but to produce something that helps in some small way produce movement action. So any time. Next video. I've been meaning to write it for a while. I've been caught up with events. It is on the public intellectualism. I was meaning to start writing it today. I got caught up tidying my room, chucking out some notes. I will try and start on tomorrow, but I may end up doing things like adjust my CV and And I'm also, actually no, what am I doing? My mum's in town, so I'm actually going to see my mum tomorrow, so I probably won't get started on it until Monday. I want to get it written and filmed before I'm going up to Scotland on the 14th, so I want to get it written and filmed before the 14th and try to get it out before Christmas. If I don't manage to film it, then I'm gonna have to lug a bunch of filming equipment up to Scotland, and I don't want to do that. So I will try my best to get this out before filmed before then. What's the topic? The topic is public intellectuals. It's the one I've been meaning to write. It's been on the docket for ages. All the research is done. It's just I need to write it, and I need to, because it's been so long since I did the research, I need to kind of glance over my notes and everything. Yeah, basically. Do I identify as a public intellectual? Serious question. So this is what the video is going to be about. Whether or not it is a salvageable concept. And my instinct, it's not been written yet, so I might come to a different conclusion. My instinct is that it's not. That I think that we maybe have to do away with the notion of public intellectualism. Or at least if you're going to do it, it has to be something more aligned with Gramscian organic intellectualism, which is not something that I think is necessarily achievable on a platform like YouTube, because an organic intellectual is not just someone who's left-wing and an intellectual, but is someone who has expertise in organising for, first of all, overthrowing the current hegemonic order, but also in modes of organising for the new order that will replace it. And I think that the institutional capitalistic constraints of YouTube, the dictating of knowledge from the screen to the individual within YouTube, means that that's not possible within this sphere. It still replicates particular capitalistic modes of knowledge production, which inhibit, at least on this platform, the existence of any kind of organic intellectual for the left. I think that means that there's plenty of organic intellectuals for the right who produce this sort of stuff, but I don't think we can take that back. I think it's a deeper question. And it's not like my gut is that we can't do away with public intellectuals. We both have a psychological desire for it, but the practical limits on the way we communicate force us down the path. I'm very careful for saying that there's any kind of, as such, psychological tendency within humans. I think that it might very well be true to say that under capitalism we have a particular psychological tendency to hold up figures who often look like me and have class backgrounds like me, have educational backgrounds like me, and are a bit able to talk. I can fucking gob on, can't I? Who are able to talk in particular ways, who then become intellectuals. But I don't think that is necessarily the case always. I think that my gut reaction is to accept a kind of defeat, and in getting rid of, and trying to not create public intellectuals but change the way of what an intellectual is, in like some very classic Gramscian stuff of an intellectual in the movement, someone who knows how to organise and build political action, rather than someone who exists on media, whether that's social media or traditional media. So basically, I'm making a pitch for why what I do isn't revolutionary. So try to put myself out of a job, which is fucking praxis. Public intellectual and thought leader similar. I guess so. I think public intellectual is one that is probably a more precise term. A thought leader thought leader is something that I wouldn't imagine as a particularly precise definition. Alright, let's change up the track. We'll change up the track and we'll carry on. Like, what I like doing in these streams is creating a counterbalance between this sort of chilled out vibe music and then saying the word "Come Tree B. Johnson" 900 times. And I think that really produces the vibe that we all need. In times like these, when the world is hard but we get some victories like Kissinger dying, we just need to remind ourselves that things like "Come Tree B. Johnson" exist. Dozing under the cum tree, evoking the smells of summer. For those who don't know, during the Victorian era, American presidents actually donated linden trees to parks across Britain. So parks across Britain have these linden trees lining the streets, and in the summer, when the blossoms start to bloom, the trees start to bloom, and every path and every walkway in every park in Britain is lined by these beautiful trees with these beautiful white blossoms, and the stench that infects all of them is just cum. You walk through these parks and you see these wonderful boulevards, these wonderful streets, these wonderful avenues framed by blossom. And you take a big sniff in and it's just cum. That's all you smell. And we owe that to the Americans. Some people say there's nothing that America did for us. That we got nothing from the great American Empire. Nothing but death and destruction and imperialism and global warming and blood-fueled economic relations. That Britain became subordinate as the shifting of hegemonic power turned. And now that the great evil is here, America, America. Nothing good came of that. Well, almost nothing. Because actually what we got was cum trees lining every park in Britain. Taking a nap. A nap. Like Hermes is saying in Cumtown. The park of Cumtown. Of course it was Americans, because like we say, Lyndon B. Johnson. Why else would he be called Lyndon? I know it's spelled differently, but Cumtown B. Johnson. Was that the original concept for Cumtown? I've never listened to Cumtown. I was just enjoying using this sort of music to sort of provide an almost poetic description of the cum smells that infiltrate British nostrils every year. If I've ever produced a clippable strip on clippable section on stream, it's 100% that one. You can ignore anything smart I've said ever. We are here for the cinematic cum experience. I never thought I'd say the word cinematic cum experience, but here we are. Closing in on the end of stream. We'll stay for another 25 minutes. We'll stay until 11, so we've got time to talk about cum. Don't worry. But this is what the theme. I didn't expect this to be the theme of today's stream. I thought that we would talk a lot about Henry Kissinger. We'd talk a bit about the PhD being done, and now you guys no longer have to hear me talk about it, which is a benefit to you. Because it's fucking done now. I don't have to mention it again. That's what I thought it would be about. We'd maybe talk about Doctor Who. I started off playing a Doctor Who theme. But we got on to, thanks to JE, and you have cemented yourself as a icon of this stream, of this channel, and I salute you for it, for that addition, which now haunts my mind. Sarah, what about this discussion of cum made you think that your video on HBO Rome might be up to 5 hours long? And also, don't do that. That's going to make you hate yourself. What's it called when you, that's what it's called when you watch porn in a cinema? People used to do that. That's what, sometimes I think about that, like, folk just used to go to cinemas to watch porn. What a different world. The changes that have existed in the past 50 years. Imagine having to take a train. Take a train to go to the porn cinema. Where are you off to? Oh, I'm just going out. Going out where? Just the cinema? The cinema. Yeah. What are you going to see? Gone with the Wind? Gone with the Wind? They re-released that? There's already... What's going on? There's already the podcast from Patrick Wyman and the Trash Future Goblins. Or on Rome? There's a podcast on Rome? Or on porn cinemas? I realised I went on a tangent there that nobody asked for and nobody wanted. Hence is the inherent power of the position I hold. I can just talk about... I can just perform a skit for you all of what it's like if someone went off to the porn cinema and was trying to hide it. Oh, on HBO's Rome. That makes sense. That makes more sense. Although, if I'm going to be honest, I would probably listen to a podcast episode on the history of porn cinemas. You know, the reason I know porn cinemas exist is because of American Werewolf in London. They go to a porn cinema in that, and that's one of the places where the American Werewolf, who is in fact in London, turns into an American Werewolf who is in London. And that's what happens. It's a paywall thing. Yeah, I know. Now you have to. Now you have to do a 5-hour video on HBO's Rome. I cannot, for the life of me, understand how anyone does that. Like, the longest video I've done is like 55 minutes long, and the amount of footage, God, it was exhausting. I mean, absolutely, it took days to edit that. I can't imagine what it'd be like to do 5 hours. I know someone who did a 10-hour video. How do you have that in you? That's what LBJ said. But aside from that, how do people have that in them to do 5 hours worth of video making? Like the performing to camera, I can understand more because, like, it's tiring. It takes a long time, but you can split up. But the editing, it's the editing. If an American werewolf becomes a werewolf in London, is the werewolf not English, having been born in London? Now that's an interesting question, but in fact, American werewolf in London doesn't become a werewolf in London. He becomes a werewolf in a small town, because I think if you recall, one of the first scenes in England is when they go to a local pub, which is in the countryside, and everyone stops talking. So if anything, they may be like a countryside werewolf is in London. So either way, the werewolf is not from London. The American is a werewolf, but the wolf part of him was made. I guess maybe there's what are immigration laws for werewolves like? In America, if you were born, you'd get citizenship. In the UK, they don't have that. So, is that a new way to get citizenship? Get a green card werewolfing in America? Oh yeah, I'm a werewolf, but I just did it for the green card. Home taping is killing the communal porn experience. I'm going to tell a story, and I'm going to let that hang there for a second, just to worry you all. I'll top up my prosecco while I wait to tell this story. I'm about to call out some folk. No one anyone knows, just friends of mine. Oh, our D&D campaign is going quite well. I sent Sinan a message about that earlier, and I have not checked what his response is going to be. For anyone who doesn't know, we do Sinan SK the Crusader here runs a D&D game that I play in. That's every other Thursday. So next Thursday we'll be playing again. Any Thursday that I'm not streaming, I will be doing D&D. And we just beat our first big bad, and my character had an earnest character moment, or almost did, and then didn't, which is fun. Anyway, so this is a story that I think it's a weird kind of microcosm of strange things that masculinity makes men do. Can I remember? Okay, Sinan. I'll take a look tomorrow. So I remember this time when I was about how old would I have been? Like 22, maybe 21, 22. And me and my flatmates were coming back from a night out, and we went into the flat that we lived in. Was terrible, awful place. Didn't have heating. The living room was awful. We didn't have a TV. So at the end of the night, we went into one of my flatmates' rooms, which was a lovely room. It was much nicer than my room. My room was like a hovel. It was like Gollum's cave. The washing froze in the middle of the night. And I woke up shivering, and the damp was leaking through the walls. But Tim's room was lovely. So we went into Tim's room, and we were there, and we were like having some like drinks. I think we maybe smoked a bit of weed. Yeah, we definitely smoked some weed. And we were like, let's watch Inside Out. We were like, yeah, let's watch Inside Out. Inside Out is a good vibe. Let's do that. It's really emotional. That'll be good. Like, it was myself, two of my flatmates, and then one more of my flatmates who was sitting next to us. And the three of us were like, yeah, Inside Out, that's good. We're kind of baked. We're a bit drunk. That'll be nice. That'll be a nice vibe. And then the third flatmate said, no, why don't we watch porn? And we were all kind of like, what? Why? And he was like, yeah, let's just watch porn together. I was like, that's not Inside Out. I mean, I guess it could be, but it wasn't. And then he just did it. He just put it on, and we were so baked that it took us like a good 2 minutes to be like, hold hold on a second. Why is this happening? And he was like, we can't watch Inside Out. That's like, Inside Out's that's a children's movie. It's not very, we can't come back and watch Inside Out. And we were like, we can't come back, the four of us, and watch porn. Why would you, why? What is going on, and why would you want us to do this together? Like, if you're feeling something, talk to us, I guess, but that's what Inside Out is for. And so we eventually, as soon as we managed to struggle up from the couch, because again, this is why I knew we were baked, because it took us a while to actually make our way over to the TV, because we were all just like, someone get up and change this, and then someone would be like, yeah, and then they start to move and they go, yeah, and then they pass along, and I'll be like, all right, I'm getting up. All right, and then eventually we got up and changed it to Inside Out. We had a fucking blast watching Inside Out, but the guy who put on the porn just left. So I'm not watching Inside Out. That's embarrassing. We're just like, what's happening in your head? What are the thoughts? What are the processes that are like watching porn with three of your friends is not embarrassing, but Inside Out is. I might cry sometimes when I'm watching the elephant sacrifice himself in that movie. That's not embarrassing, that's just emotion. It's okay to cry in front of your friends. It's not okay to non-consensually put on a bunch of porn. That was an odd day. Anyway, now you all have that story. Now, whenever I watch Inside Out, that moment is still briefly in my head, where we all just sort of turn around. And it was a very cinematic moment, though, when we all sort of realised like that what was going on, and we all kind of turned round in one singular action just to look at this guy and be like, what's going on with you, man? What's going on with you? Are you okay? Do you need to talk about anything? Are you that insecure that you think, I guess maybe that watching Inside Out would make you gay, but watching porn with your friends wouldn't? What these strange calculations that the male mind makes. The straight male mind makes. Maybe it's like a thing that like is a product of older generations doing, that we're like, oh yeah, well, like, we'll watch, but it's still like, it feels like there's something different to like a bunch of like looking at a magazine and looking at like an actual porn on the screen. Like, neither are good, but I don't know, it feels weirder to be like, to look at it on the screen and sort of like reviewing it like you're Mark Commode at the porno cinema. Like, this one's not. I just realised I had a moment of just realising how off the rails we've gotten here. Anyway, Mark Commode of the porno cinema. Another thing, another concept that I'm willing to explore in a different time. What? Mark Commode slamming his desk and singing the Internationale at the porno cinema. Mark Commode, for those who don't know, is an English film reviewer who gets famously very worked up about films. During his review of, I think it was Sex and the City 2, he broke down how commercial it was, how bad it was, and how commodifying it was, tying it back to the PhD, and he started just slamming his desk and singing the Internationale. He's called Commode, yeah. Thank you, Silver Samaritan. You have jumped in at an odd time. Where I say that any time from Country B. Johnson would have been an odd time. Yeah, we got there. We can. You talk long enough. There's one thing you learn about when you're doing academia is if you talk long enough, you can eventually say something that's convincing. That's what they don't want you to know. Is that all these academics we're all fucking dipshits and just talking long enough until someone believes you. That's what the title of this university. Yeah, exactly. I don't know how this happens today. I hope you've all enjoyed yourselves. I hope this has been a fun stream for you all. We're going to go for another 8 minutes or so. And then, I'll leave you with memories of Country B. Johnson and the story of my odd friend from university who on that day decided to watch porn with us. The penny just drops down. Fellatio doctor, yeah. There's absolutely someone who has a PhD whose research was in fellatio, by the way. Like, that absolutely exists. The notion that it doesn't, yeah, we'd be kidding ourselves. Dr. Duncan, there I am. Middle-aged, fucking country GP Dr. Duncan. I'm going to keep this music on till the end of the stream because I kind of like it. It kind of makes it feel like anytime I'm narrating something that something important is happening. Like it feels like I'm about to have an emotional revelation at the end of a movie, like something terrible has happened and that I get to be able to be the person delivering the monologue. Unfortunately, the monologues have not been particularly insightful so far. That's what you get when you mess with the discourse. Yeah, well, thank you everyone for. Let me put on my radio voice. Was the porn revelation porn story not an emotional revelation? I guess so, but for me it's one that I've very much come to terms with a long time ago. Like we were all very much discussing that the next day. There's nothing repressed about there may be something repressed, but it's not from me in terms of the porn story. So I guess maybe a revelation for you guys. In which case, enjoy. I hope. Yeah, let me try and put on a radio voice. You have been listening to Dr. Duncan's Country Conversation Corner. Thank you for dropping by. We're here every second week discussing all things Country B. Johnson and beyond. And we appreciate you here. keep sniffing. Dr. Duncan, out. I wouldn't even dare mention porn to my friends, let alone ask them to watch along. I mean, how do I tell this story? So someone, another friend, someone else. This isn't like, it's not particularly bad. It's just funny. I remember we walked in on one of our friends once, who he was just in his room, and no fuck, I'm not gonna tell this story. For his good, not mine. That story's not getting told tonight. I think this might be the most depraved stream I've ever done, which is kind of impressive. See, the thing is, it feels that to tell that story, it feels mean to the person who it's about. So I won't tell it. Just imagine something worse. It's not as good as the sitting baked in a room while someone insists you watch porn story. See, if it's worse, it's not as bad. See, it's not even the thing, like, I am fine with being sex positive and sharing sexual experiences with your friends. That's fine. The vibe of going from let's watch Inside Out, we are slightly baked, to let's watch to one person who's not baked deciding to watch porn is a very different condition. Thank you, Eric. We are reaching the end of the stream today. We have really taken it off the rails today. Emotional whiplash for sure. We just wanted to watch sadness and joy get along. We didn't just want the sadness of watching someone desperate to perform their masculinity in front of us. That's the other thing about it, is that it is just the reason to do that is specifically a performance of masculinity, isn't it? Like, the only reason that you're doing that is that you can be like, oh, men who watch porn, yeah, women who are. Like, in reaction against 3 other men being like, let's have a little weep about the emotions that are inside our heads. Like, that's fundamentally what that reaction is, right? The reaction against Inside Out is fundamentally against feeling things and then deciding, I can't feel things, so let me objectify someone else. Right? Was it at least good porn? I cannot remember. We were so baked and so confused. '16th Doctor confirmed, exactly. The doctor who talks about porn. I feel like that's probably not. I feel like David Tennant probably did. Daniel Shepherd saying, and I'm citing you for this, "Well, you want to go inside someone's head, there's a bit where things go inside someone's head coming up." There must be, right, an Inside Out porn parody. Right? That must exist. It'll be weird, but weirder things exist. This is not an avenue I should pursue, is it? Cumtree and Tennant's voice. Cumtree and Tennant's Doctor Who voice, or his actual voice? This part of it, yeah. I know my friend Xander Corvus is a fairly well-known porn star, and another separate friend of mine he works in has done work in not porn, but in sexual education and kink spaces. He has the Captain America shield that Xander used in his Avengers themed porn, which is quite fun, I guess. Trying to think of a way of how to draw this stream to a close in a way that feels vaguely meaningful. Because it needs to come to a close, mainly because I kind of need the toilet. But the music makes it feel like something important has to happen. While the topic is about porn parodies, Nobody really everyone decided to ignore my very correct diagnosis of what was going on in that situation, which was a crisis of masculinity within a 23-year-old, because he was a year older than us, a 23-year-old guy. As you know, he starts to question his emotional maturity in the face of his drunken high friends who want to explore emotional impacts of children's movies on them. Thoughts on the Doctor Who 60th? I like we went over this and we talked about it earlier, but I enjoyed the 60th very much. It was like Doctor Who was back in a number of ways. Big fan. Only short of a few minutes, streaming taken on a new connotation today. Oh, you have no idea. It is a strange story, that's why it's funny. I think the real message tonight is, what have we learned? So 4 years of work. Something men will literally force their friends to watch porn rather than attend to their emotions. Exactly. So what we've learned tonight is 4 years worth of work has been celebrated. Alongside that, the death of a monster has been celebrated. We have discussed such important areas as activism, as getting people involved in social movements as masculinity and their crises. We have discussed American-British relations and the importance of highlighting America's role in making every park in the UK have a particular scent. But the most important thing that we have learned, the thing that I want everyone to take away with them from now until the end of their lives, is that "Come Tree Be Johnson" is the funniest 3 words I think I've ever come across. If we all just think, it's like Peter Pan. If you say, I do believe in fairies, I do, then fairies exist. That's the power of imagination, of hope, of a child's heart. What's the power of an adult's heart? A heart that's jaded and blackened and crushed by the force of the world. Well, the power of an adult's heart is to hear the phrase, "Come Tree Be Johnson," and be filled with such an immense amount of glee that they spend 3 hours and 6 minutes almost exclusively talking about it and revolving an entire stream which was previously about an achievement around "Come Tree Be Johnson," and having absolutely no regrets about a single second. That's what we've learned today. The immense power of "Come Tree Be Johnson." Long live "Come Tree Be Johnson." And good night.